Hello everyone. Today we are doing a menu which has pudina parathas, rara gosht, bhindi saute or bhindi masala. We also have gulab jamuns to go with it. If you think now what all ingredients we have to deal with, we have a mutton that is going to need some time for marination. It will also need the longest time for cooking. We have a sweet dish which calls for a sugar syrup which needs to be at room temperature, so that also needs to be made first. We have bhindi which will cook not it won't take a very long time for cooking, but it will need time for processing. And we have parathas that needs to be the dough has to be made and then rested for some time, and in the end we have to make the parathas because we can't reheat them. So with so much of requirements of the menu, as usual I am going to have all my tools in place. I will check whether all the things are there in it. I have my mug, I have my dusters in place, I have my plates there, I have wet duster, chopping boards, all my ingredients and the center table ingredients also are checked. So with that I am going to start with marinating the mutton. So I am keeping this at the lower deck. For mutton marination I have some curd, we have already spoken about cutting of mutton and what parts of mutton are best for eating, and the discussion was done. Ginger garlic paste, salt, turmeric powder and red chili powder. I'm going to mix it with a whisk first. Anytime you do a marinade, you must make sure that you are mixing all the ingredients and not keep putting one ingredient on the mutton or any of the meats. Whisk it up nicely. Add washed pieces of mutton. You can see I am using all the fat, which is good fat can be used, and it is with bones, so they are going to contribute to the flavor, taste. As I told you earlier, this was already pre-cut mutton that I have got for this particular demo. When you are doing it, you must keep around 15 to 20 minutes for cutting of the mutton for 20 portions. Just trying to learn some time management. Also, if you are working in a group, some other group members will be starting with some other dish. So, plan of work in a group is going to be slightly different. So, the marination is ready. I am going to cover it and keep it at the lower deck. Next, I'm going to start with the sugar syrup. As I said a few minutes back, I need to make the syrup. It will take some time. Then I need to reduce the temperature to bring it down to room temperature. And then I need to work on the gulab jamun frying. So when the gulab jamun is ready to get inside the syrup has to be at room temperature. So I'm going to start with the syrup now. So I need sugar. Usually the proportion is, if you are using 1 kilo of mawa, then around 1.25 or 1.5 kilos of sugar. Okay, because the syrup will be absorbed by the gulab jamuns and the leftover syrup can be used for other dishes. Okay, so we will start. We are making gulab jamun with around 250 grams of mawa. About the mawa, I will let you know after I start with the syrup. When I am handling the mawa, I will talk about that a little later. So 250 grams of mawa. So I need around 400 to 500 grams of sugar, right? So I am going to take one upper bottom dechi and I am going to measure the sugar. One baba mold is around 100 grams. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. 400 grams of sugar, to which I am going to add half the amount of water. So 2 baba molds of water. And now I am going to keep it on a slow fire initially so that the sugar melts and then the syrup starts happening. So I am going to keep it on a slow flame now. Next I am getting ready for making the dough for pudina paratha, for which I am using equal proportions of maida and same proportion of atta. So 1 baba mold each, that makes it 200 grams. Salt. And around 10% of melted fat. So around 20 grams of fat. First I am mixing the atta and maida. Melted fat, it need not be hot, it can be at room temperature as well. Now I am adding little water at a time to make the dough. You have seen the dough making and the techniques of making various kinds of different doughs for different Indian breads last time. I'm going to round up the dough and keep it at the corner of a table, just like you have kept bread dough, and I'm going to cover it up with a damp duster, right? So I'm going to keep it on the side and get the table clean. The syrup is getting ready. After the dough was made, I am going to add some lime juice in this. Check out the color here, it is not very clear, slightly milky. So when you add the lime juice, it's going to become clearer. All the impurities will come in the form of black colored froth around. Just like how you scum the stock, you will need to scum this also. So it will take some time. Next, I am getting ready for the mutton gravy. So I need onions and tomatoes. So we are ready with the tempering ingredients in a plate. I have green and red cardamoms. I have bay leaf, chopped onions, ginger garlic paste, tomatoes, red chili pieces whole. I have my powdered masalas, chili powder, coriander powder, jeera powder and turmeric powder. So I'm going to take little oil in a brass dekchi and start frying the masala. The mutton is marinated for around 20-25 minutes. So it's time to start cooking it now. Okay. Check this brown colored impurities. I'm going to discard them. And now you can check the color of the syrup that has come out nice and clear. So let us check the consistency of the syrup. You can separate. The string has not yet started coming, so we will continue simmering it for some more time. Going back to the mutton, adding oil to the pan, switching on the flame. Adding the hard spices first in the cold oil. Adding the bay leaf when the oil is hot enough. Now adding onions. You just need them to saute, so adding ginger garlic now. Lightly brown, so now I'm adding the tomatoes. the powdered masalas and the red chili. I am adding a little salt. And I'm going to add the mutton. Without putting any water. After sauteing it for a couple of minutes, it has already started oozing water. I use the term sauteing actually, but it's not a saute. There is a special term for this in Indian cuisine. It's called bhunawing. The term is so special that it has been adopted as the culinary term even in the foreign countries. So the term means without adding water or any moisture when you keep frying and cooking and letting the moisture that is oozing out evaporate. So you can keep stirring this and leave it, and that will be called bhunawing. But I will need to work on other dishes, so I am going to put a lid on it on a slow flame and let it cook. I have checked the syrup, it is appropriate texture, so I am going to switch off the flame and keep it for cooling down under the fan, so that when I am ready with the gulab jamun, it will come to room temperature. If you wish to add some saffron strands, you can add them now, so that the syrup gets flavored with the saffron. Instead of putting saffron in the mawa, which will get fried and it will get destroyed completely, better to add the saffron in the hot syrup. So we'll put some saffron in the hot syrup and keep it under the fan for cooling down. Next we are working on the bhindi. So all of us know, some of us hate bhindi for the reason of the slimy thing that comes out when you cut it and process it. So what we are going to do is to avoid or reduce the sliminess, we will either wash them and then wipe them dry individually, or use a damp duster to just wipe it off. If you are going to make it after 2-3 hours, you can always wash it and keep it for draining on a cloth or something like that. Basically avoid any contact with water when you start cutting it. Still there will be some slimy things coming out, that is okay, but we are trying to make it to the least possible quantity. So now the bhindi is dried out. I have used a duster to wipe it properly. Now I am going to cut them up. So cut the head and the tail and cut them at a slant. When you are working in quantity, you will have one set of people, students in the group, who will be just cutting the head and the tail, passing on the clean bhindi on the other side, where the rest of you will be cutting this finally into these pieces. Never ever will you mix up the cut pieces and uncut pieces or things that need to throw in the usable part. Alright, so let's continue now. I am transferring this on a plate and then continuing. Okay, so we have the cut bindi. Okay, the trick is to keep all the cuts sizes same. Okay, because they have to cook together, so they should be of same size. Then I also have some sliced onions, sliced tomatoes, I have some salt here, and the powdered masalas, chili powder, coriander powder and turmeric powder. All this is going in the pan. The amchur powder I am going to add at the end, so I have not taken it on the plate here, but I will add it once the tempering is ready and all the dish is entirely ready. I will introduce it at the end. Before starting with the bindi, let me check the mutton. Just to ensure that it's not getting burned, it won't cook so early, so I'm going to cover it again. And on the next flame, I'm going to start with the bindi. So I have a pan here, I have taken some oil and I have heated it up. Now I'm going to add bindi in it. And I'm going to toss it. Add some salt in it. And leave it alone for some time on a slow flame till the bindi cooks almost 80%. Avoiding putting any lid so that I keep it as dry as possible, and also trying to avoid stirring it too much, which may lead to the excessive sliminess later on. So I am trying not to touch it with a spoon, neither am I going to stir it very often, just leaving it alone for some time. Next I am going to work on gulab jamun, because I need to give time for the gulab jamun to soak, absorb in the syrup. So I am going to grate the mawa. It can be stored in the fridge for some time so that the fat content from the mawa does not interfere in our work. As the higher the fat content, the more difficult it is for frying. Anything that goes in for frying, if there is more than a specific amount of oil content or fat content, it will disintegrate in the process of frying. So we have to be very careful with it. Okay, this is 250 grams of Hariyali mawa. Now what is Hariyali mawa? As if you have watched the older video with gulab jamun, Hariyali mawa is the reduced cow milk which has lesser fat content than the buffalo milk used for making mawa. The normal mawa is made with buffalo milk, and it looks more whiter as compared to this. This one is slightly yellowish, as you can make out. Now we have to add some binding agent in this. So we are adding 20% of some kind of starch, like in the form of either soaked rava or maida. I am going to add 50 grams of maida in this. I am going to add some cardamom powder, and I am going to mix it very lightly. Some people add grated paneer. Some people add soda so that it puffs up, but today I am not going to add either of them. I am just going to make it with these three ingredients. The mixture has become a little dry, so I am going to add some cold water in it, very little cold water, just so that the dryness that has come from the maida gets removed out and it is easy for me to shape it. So that's it. Now it's binding well. It's like a dough. Before going on to making the final gulab jams, shaping it, I am going to check on my bhindi and my mutton. Let's check. The bhindi is almost done, so you can either eat one and check, or you can pierce it with a knife and see. The knife has to go very easily inside. There is no sliminess at all, you can check. And now I am going to add the rest of the ingredients in this. So I expect the rest of it also to cook together and the dish gets ready. All this is happening on a very slow flame. Let's check the mutton as well. There's a nice simmer on it. The oil has started oozing out. Putting it back under a lid. Coming back to the gulab jamun, just added a little water to mix it. As we all know, there is a high gluten content in the maida, and we do not want to develop the gluten here. We just want it to help in binding, so we are not going to knead it very harshly. Alright. Depending on how big you want the gulab jamun, in college we take around 100 portions for a kilo. So this is 250 grams. I need to make 25 portions out of this. So just like you used to make the bread rolls, I'm going to make 5 portions, trying to make them equal. Taking one portion at a time, just trying to make it smooth. Five portions each. Now when you have to finally shape it, you can have two ways. One is the round one, so press them between your palms very hard and then slowly release the pressure so that it becomes nice and round. There should be no cracks on it. Or you can also use the same technique but make them slightly elongated. Right? Last time we had made them nice and round, so we'll go ahead with the round ones only. Okay. Now, when it's time to fry, depending on the size of the kadai, you will have to keep that much quantity ready. So do not switch on the flame before you are ready with the appropriate quantities. Right? You must wet a duster and cover them up with a wet duster till it's time to fry. Otherwise they will dry out on the surface and they won't give a correct texture after frying. So the ones on which you are not working, that means these portions, the ones which are not being worked on and the ready ones, both need to be covered with a wet duster. Just to bring in some variety, what I have done is we have mixed some pink color in one portion, and we are going to stuff it up in between one portion here. So these are going to be stuffed. Okay. If you are making large ones, then in that case you can stuff it up with the halwa or misri या जो भी कहते हैं, ये शुगर का बना होता है, तो this can go at the center. The idea is when it's going to be fried, that time this melts and it starts sweetening the center, whereas when it goes in the syrup will be absorbed from outside, and before even it goes in the syrup it will be already sweetened from inside, because this will get melted and it will be absorbed by the center part of it, right? So I'm just going to stuff it up. These are very, very fine. You may get big ones, large ones, so you can just stuff it up with one single sugar coated til or something also. Okay, I'm just trying to get rid of the cracks, right? I have the gulab jamuns shaped. I always prefer to keep them in bunches of 5 or 10 so that it's easy to count, and also it's easy to add them, because depending on the size of the kadai I'm going to add specific number in it, right? So let me check the temperature. Initially the temperature has to be very high. Once I have brought it to a good temperature, now I am going to add the gulab jamuns and keep stirring them. As it was shown in the earlier video, they will take it down in large quantities and they will just circulate the kadai, so that without actually getting this frying spoon touch to the gulab jamun, it will still keep rotating around themselves. So now it has to get cooked from inside, so it has to be fried on a very slow flame. Now the temperature is very high, so I am going to switch off the flame and switch it on again if required later on. I am using fat, that is hydrogenated dalda or vanaspati. If you can fry it in pure ghee, it will be the best that can happen to the gulab jamuns. They taste really well. So when you go to a sweetmeat shop, you will find two categories. प्योर घी में तला हुआ जो ज़्यादा एक्सपेंसिव होता है, और जो नॉर्मल फैट में तला हुआ होता है जो कि इतना महंगा नहीं होता. It's been fried now, the color, nice color. So I'm going to wait till for a couple of say around 10 seconds or something, till the excess fat gets drained out, and I'm going to add it directly in the syrup, which has now come down to room temperature. With the osmotic exchange, the hot gulab jamuns are going to absorb the syrup, which is at room temperature. Okay, next I'm going to make the parathas. For dusting, I prefer to use a mixture of atta and maida, so I'm keeping that ready. I have my chopped mint ready. I have cleaned it and chopped it, and now I am going to portion out the parathas, just giving it a good kneading it a bit. I started with 200 grams, so I will get around 7 parathas out of this, 7 to 8. Just checking the sizes, whether they are right. Adjusting it here is a better thing to do, rather than making them big and small and then trying to adjust it. Right, I'm going to keep them back under the same wet duster, moist duster, so that they don't dry out, and I'm going to shape them now. You can decide on what shape you want. I'm going to make them triangular. So I'm going to make a circle first. Apply some melted fat on top. Spread it around. Now put some mint leaves at the center and spread them. By doing this, I am going to prevent them from coming to touch the tawa and burn. So this will be as if it will be embedded right inside. So I am going to stick them up and fold them. Apply some fat here as well. And fold it up. Now for rolling, as it was shown in the earlier video, I have a tawa ready here, slightly hot. I have kept one plate with a duster on, clean duster, so that I can keep my parathas on that. So now I have the fulkas that are going, the parathas that are going up on the hot tawa. I need some fat also. You can use the same melted fat as you have made ready for the layering. As the paratha is baking, there's a fragrance of mint, fresh and nice. You can bake them half and reheat them on hot tawa just before service also. It has to have a brown color, and you must look after the corners because they are generally fat, and take them on. Starting the final presentation, I have the parathas here, nice and hot. A garnish of green coriander, and juliennes of ginger. Of the bindi, sprinkling some amchur powder. It's reheated. It's a self-garnished dish because it has all the colors there. And finally we have gulab jamun. Check out, they have swollen up nicely with the syrup. Right, so let's do the presentation. Brown ones. If you wish, you can put some work or you can put the nuts. So that's the menu for today. As a veg substitute to kadai murg, we are going to learn how to make kadai veg. So I have some oil which I have heated. I want to crackle some cumin seeds in it and add chopped onion. Fry it to a light color, then add ginger garlic paste. Add chopped tomatoes, a little salt, turmeric powder, as the masala is getting done, let me explain about the kadai masala which we had used in the kadai chicken. It was shown to you earlier also. It has Kashmiri red chilies, coriander seeds, fennel, peppercorns, cinnamon, green cardamom and cloves. All these ingredients are lightly roasted and pounded, and kadai masala is never powdered very finely. It will always have a coarse texture. Okay. Now that this masala is ready, I am going to add some pre-cooked vegetables. The choice is yours. You can use any vegetables. I have used potatoes, carrots, green capsicum and cauliflower. I have par cooked them, and now I am going to mix it up, add some water for the remaining cooking of the vegetables. You may add mushrooms, you may add paneer, you may add green peas, you may add colored capsicums. I am going to add little more salt for the vegetables. Put a lid on it and get them cooked. It's been 5 to 7 minutes. Let's check. The vegetables are cooked now, so I am going to add the masala. A little water. Just wait for the masala to get mixed for just to serve it. This preparation has turned out pretty dry. If you wish to make a gravy out of it, you can double up the quantities of onions and tomatoes. You may puree it and then start with the recipe. That will also give you a little extra quantity of gravy, and then you will be able to serve it as a main course as well.